InvestorIdeas.com podcast.
Good afternoon and welcome to another InvestorIdeas.com podcast featuring cannabis news, stocks to watch, as well as insights from thought leaders and experts. This month's podcast is brought to you by our exclusive content partner, CLS Holdings US Incorporated, trading on the OTCQB as CLSH, a diversified cannabis company operating as Cannabis Life Sciences and an integrated cannabis producer and retailer in Nevada through its Oasis Cannabis subsidiaries with plans to expand into other states. Today we'll be looking at announcements from TRU.C Cannabis Corporation, trading on the CSE as TRUL, KHRN Life Sciences Corporation, trading on the TSXV as KHRN, and the OTCQB as KHRN.F, and Namaste Technologies Incorporated, trading on the TSXV as N, and the OTC as NXTTF. First, looking at TRU.C Cannabis Corporation, who today announced its financial results for the third quarter ended September 30th of 2018. Some of the third quarter 2018 highlights included revenue growing from $23.3 million in the second quarter of 2018 to $28.3 million in the third quarter of 2018. Adjusted EBITDA increased from $11.7 million in the second quarter of 2018 to $12.6 million in the third quarter of 2018, and the company began trading on the Canadian Securities Exchange. These outstanding results in the third quarter demonstrate the meaningful progress we've made on our strategic plan since becoming a publicly traded company in September, said Kim Rivers, CEO of TRU.C. Looking ahead, we remain focused on scalable growth, including multi-state operational expansion. Earlier this month, TRU.C announced the acquisition of Life Essence Incorporated and Leaf Industries LLC, based in Massachusetts and California, respectively. These acquisitions mark the first operational initiatives beyond Florida for TRU.C. TRU.C's market-leading brand experience continues to result in high patient retention as we deliver consistent, high-quality products supported by predictive analytics and industry-leading outreach while advocating for patients and physicians, Rivers continued. We believe we are well-positioned in continuing to be the dominant leader in the Florida market while firmly establishing our footprint in the Massachusetts and California markets moving forward. Next, looking at KHRN Life Sciences Corporation, an integrated medical cannabis company with its core operations in Colombia, who announced that it's received additional quotas from the Colombian Technical Quotas Group, or the TQG, to cultivate 5,040 psychoactive cannabis plants for the purposes of completing the Colombian Agricultural Institute agronomic evaluation tests. This represents a key milestone towards KHRN's state timeline to bring medical cannabis options to the market in Colombia. Juan Diego Alvarez, KHRN Vice President of Regulatory Affairs, commented that this allocation of cultivation quotas allows us to continue with the process of presenting new cannabis strains to the ICA for testing and approval for commercial production. We expect to complete this current phase of our Colombian licensing process in the very near future and to use these strains for commercial purposes by the first quarter of 2019. With the test cultivation quota, KHRN, one of the first companies to be registered by the ICA as an agronomical unit, is positioned to ensure the availability of all genetic material required to finish the ICA's agronomical evaluation of more than 60 strains of cannabis that have proven to have genetic potential for medical development and that can be used for commercial purposes. The cultivation yield will also enable the company to begin building a seed bank for the future development of new medical cannabis products. Looking last now at Namaste Technologies Incorporated, who announced the launch of its craft cannabis program with its preferred regulatory partners, Cannabis Compliance Incorporated. The program is intended to provide support for craft cultivators who will apply for a micro-cultivator or microprocessor license under the Cannabis Act. Namaste's wholly owned subsidiary, Canmart Incorporated, has initiated a program that offers both regulatory and financial support to micro-cultivators in exchange for a supply agreement with the right of first refusal on 100% of their production. Canmart will launch a craft cannabis section on its website that will offer patients access to a large variety of premium quality cannabis products sourced from small batch producers. Each micro-cultivator will be allowed to grow cannabis up to 200 square meters of total canopy space. Each microprocessor will be allowed to process up to 600 kilograms of cannabis from their facility. By securing supply agreements with microcultivators, Canmart will be providing its patients with access to many strains which have not yet been available in the regulated market. Canmart's craft cannabis program offers significant value for future microcultivators, not only by providing regulatory and financial support, but also by providing sales channel directly to consumers with a healthy margin and national exposure. Craft growers across the country are now allowed to apply for microcultivator licenses under the new regulations of the Cannabis Act. This podcast is in partnership with featured sponsor CLS Holdings US Incorporated, trading on the OTCQB as CLSH. More info and details can be found at our disclaimers and disclosures page at investorideas.com. That's all for today's podcast. Podcast is now a certified word trademark on the blockchain through Cognate Incorporated CM certification. InvestorIdeas.com podcasts are also available on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play Music, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, and TuneIn. If you'd like to be a guest or sponsor of this podcast, please contact InvestorIdeas.com. Investor Ideas reminds all listeners to read our disclaimers and disclosures on the InvestorIdeas.com website, and this podcast is not an endorsement to buy products or services or securities. Investors are reminded that all investments involve risk and possible loss of investment. Investor Ideas does not condone the use of cannabis except where permissible by law. Our site does not possess, distribute, or sell cannabis products.